Liam and Emma were the couple everyone envied. Together for nearly a decade, they had built a life that felt as sturdy as the oak beams in their newly renovated farmhouse. Liam, a financial advisor, was practical and steady, always thinking 5 steps ahead. Emma, a charismatic art teacher, brought color and spontaneity to his ordered world. They had no children yet, but their shared dreams filled their home. They talked about growing old together, traveling to Europe, and someday starting a family. To Liam, their life was perfect, until he stumbled across the text that shattered it all. Liam wasn't the type to snoop. He trusted Emma implicitly, never questioning her late nights at the studio or her spontaneous girls' weekends. But one Friday evening, as they sat on the couch watching a movie, Emma's phone buzzed. She picked it up quickly, her face tightening as she read the message. Liam didn't ask, but when Emma went upstairs to shower, leaving her phone on the coffee table, curiosity got the better of him. The text was from a contact saved as Lydia, but the message didn't fit. "I can't stop thinking about last night. When can I see you again?" Liam's stomach dropped. He scrolled further, finding a series of messages spanning weeks. Whoever this was, Emma wasn't painting landscapes or having wine with her girlfriends. Liam didn't confront her right away. Instead, he copied the number into his phone, determined to learn more. He spent the next week observing Emma carefully, noting her excuses, her sudden urge to work late, and the way she avoided his gaze. Finally, he couldn't hold it in any longer. One evening, as they sat at the dinner table, Liam set his fork down and looked at her. "Who's Lydia?" he asked, his voice calm but cold. Emma froze, her fork halfway to her mouth. "What are you talking about?" Liam slid his phone across the table. The incriminating messages pulled up. "Don't lie to me, Emma. I know." Her face crumbled, and she buried her head in her hands. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she whispered. "I swear, Liam, I—" "Stop," he interrupted. "I don't want your excuses. I want the truth." Emma admitted it. The messages weren't from a woman. They were from Aaron, one of her colleagues from the art studio. It had started as harmless flirting, she claimed, and spiraled into something physical. "I love you," she insisted. "It didn't mean anything. It's over now, I promise." But Liam wasn't convinced. As she begged for forgiveness, he sat in silence, his mind racing. She had already betrayed him once. What was stopping her from doing it again? Liam packed a bag that night and left the farmhouse. He told Emma he needed time to think, but in reality, he was plotting his next move. He hired a private investigator to dig into Emma's affair. Within days, he had photos of her and Aaron meeting at hotels, text logs, and even receipts for meals they had shared. The evidence wasn't just damning. It was fuel for what Liam had in mind. Liam returned home a week later, feigning forgiveness. "I want to work on this," he told Emma, his tone soft and measured. "But I need you to be honest with me from now on." Emma cried with relief, promising to cut all ties with Aaron. She deleted his number in front of Liam and agreed to go to counseling. To her, it seemed like a fresh start, but for Liam, it was the beginning of his revenge. Liam spent the next few months gathering information, not just about Emma's affair, but about Aaron too. He discovered that Aaron was married to a woman named Kate, who worked as a nurse in a nearby town. One evening, while Emma was out teaching a class, Liam mailed an anonymous package to Kate. Inside were the photos of Aaron and Emma together, copies of their text messages, and a brief note. "You deserve to know the truth. Ask him about Emma." The fallout was immediate. Within days, Aaron's marriage was in shambles, and word of his affair spread through the tight-knit art community. Emma, oblivious to Liam's role in the chaos, came home one evening in tears. "I don't know what's happening," she sobbed. Aaron's wife found out, and now everyone at the studio is talking about it. Liam feigned concern, hiding his satisfaction. "Maybe it's for the best," he said, holding her as she cried. Liam wasn't done. While Emma was distracted by the chaos at work, he quietly met with a divorce attorney. As their assets were largely tied to the farmhouse, Liam's childhood home, he made sure the paperwork would leave Emma with as little as possible. He also froze their joint accounts, claiming it was to manage their finances better while they worked through things. By the time Emma realized what was happening, it was too late. Liam's final act of revenge came during their anniversary party. an event Emma had insisted they host to show friends they were still strong. As their closest friends gathered in the farmhouse's backyard, Liam raised a toast. "To my wife," he began, his voice steady, "for teaching me the importance of honesty, loyalty, and trust." Emma beamed, unaware of what was coming next. "And to her lover, Aaron, for showing me what betrayal looks like," he continued, his tone sharp. The crowd fell silent as Liam revealed the affair in painstaking detail, complete with the photos he had collected. Emma's face turned pale as murmurs spread through the group. She fled the party in tears, humiliated and exposed. Emma moved out of the farmhouse the next day, leaving behind the life she had built with Liam. She struggled to rebuild, her reputation in ruins and her finances drained. Liam, meanwhile, felt a strange mix of satisfaction and emptiness. His revenge had been thorough, but it hadn't erased the pain of her betrayal. Months later, as he sat alone in the farmhouse, he realized that moving on wasn't about getting even. It was about letting go. For Liam, the journey wasn't just about revenge. It was about rediscovering himself and learning that even from heartbreak, he could find strength. After the anniversary party bombshell, Emma tried reaching out to Liam. Her texts ranged from desperate apologies to furious accusations. "How could you humiliate me like that? I know I hurt you, but this was cruel. Please, let's talk. I'm sorry. I messed up. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this." Liam ignored every message. Blocking her number wasn't enough. He wanted her to feel the weight of her choices. He knew Emma thrived on appearances. Her identity was built around being admired. By publicly exposing her, he had struck where it hurt most. But even as he savored his revenge, a gnawing unease crept into his thoughts. He wondered if he had gone too far, or not far enough. Liam kept tabs on Aaron, who had moved into a small apartment after Kate filed for divorce. Word of his affair with Emma had spread beyond the art community, tarnishing his professional reputation. His clients began pulling their commissions, and galleries hesitated to work with him. One evening, Liam received an unexpected call from Kate. She had pieced together his role in exposing Aaron. "I don't know if I should thank you or hate you," Kate said, her voice tinged with both bitterness and relief. "I didn't do it for you," Liam replied curtly. "I did it for me." "Well, either way, you were right. I deserve to know. Now I can move forward." Her words lingered long after the call ended. Liam couldn't help but wonder if he could ever truly move forward himself. Emma's life unraveled quickly. The art studio, her sanctuary, became a place of whispers and judgment. Clients who once adored her work now kept their distance, hesitant to associate with her scandal. Financially, she was in freefall. With the divorce pending and her accounts frozen, she was forced to move into a small apartment far from the idyllic farmhouse she had called home. Loneliness became her constant companion. She spent nights staring at old photos of her and Liam, consumed by guilt and regret. One evening, weeks after the anniversary party, Emma showed up at the farmhouse unannounced. Liam opened the door, surprised to see her standing there, drenched from the rain. "I know you don't want to see me," she began, her voice trembling. "But I need you to understand, I never stopped loving you." Liam stared at her, unmoved. "You have a funny way of showing it." "I made a mistake," she continued, her eyes filling with tears. "I was selfish, and I betrayed everything we had. But you meant everything to me, Liam. You still do." Liam didn't respond immediately. Instead, he stepped aside, allowing her into the house. He wasn't ready to forgive, but part of him wanted to hear her out. They sat across from each other at the dining table, the tension between them palpable. Emma opened up about the affair, explaining how it had started during a difficult period in their marriage. "I felt invisible," she admitted. "Aaron made me feel wanted, like I was exciting again. But it wasn't real. It was shallow and meaningless." "Then why did you keep doing it?" Liam demanded, his voice sharp. Emma's face crumpled. "Because I didn't know how to stop. And by the time I realized what I was risking, it was too late." Liam shook his head, his anger bubbling to the surface. "You risked everything we built together for that? And now you want me to just, what? Forget it ever happened?" Emma didn't answer. She knew she couldn't ask for forgiveness. Not after what she had done. In the days following Emma's visit, Liam wrestled with conflicting emotions. On one hand, he wanted to see her suffer, to feel the pain she had inflicted on him. On the other hand, he couldn't deny that part of him still cared. He spoke to his sister, Charlotte, who had always been his voice of reason. "Do you still love her?" she asked bluntly. "I don't know," Liam admitted. "What I do know is that I can't trust her." Charlotte nodded thoughtfully. "Then maybe it's not about revenge anymore. Maybe it's about deciding what kind of life you want moving forward." Liam's divorce attorney finalized the papers, leaving Emma with little more than her personal belongings. The farmhouse, the accounts, and their shared investments all remained in Liam's name. Emma tried to negotiate, but Liam held firm. "You wanted freedom," he said coldly. "Now you have it." The settlement left Emma devastated. She took on multiple part-time jobs to stay afloat, her once glamorous lifestyle reduced to survival mode. Liam received a letter from Aaron one day, handwritten and unexpected. Liam, you don't owe me anything, but I wanted to say I'm sorry. Not just for the affair, but for being the kind of man who destroys lives without thinking about the consequences. I've lost everything, my wife, my career, and the respect of everyone I cared about. Maybe I deserved it, but I want you to know that none of it was worth what it cost. Liam read the letter twice before tossing it into the trash. Aaron's apology, while sincere, did nothing to ease his anger. Despite the wreckage of her life, Emma refused to give up. She began volunteering at a local community center, teaching art classes to underprivileged children. The work gave her a sense of purpose, a reason to keep going. One day, while helping a young boy paint a landscape, Emma felt a flicker of hope. For the first time in months, she realized that her life wasn't over. It was just beginning anew. Months later, Liam stood in the farmhouse's garden, watching the sunrise. The anger that had consumed him for so long had finally begun to fade. He realized that revenge, while satisfying in the moment, hadn't brought him the peace he craved. The real victory was in reclaiming his life and moving forward. Emma's life had settled into a modest routine. She rented a small one-bedroom apartment in a quieter part of town, far removed from the bustling art circles she once frequented. Her days were spent teaching art to kids at the community center, and though it wasn't glamorous, it brought her a sense of fulfillment she hadn't felt in years. One day, she was approached by a local gallery owner, intrigued by her work with the children. "I heard about your classes," the owner said. "We're hosting an exhibit on community art next month. I'd love to feature some of your students' pieces, and maybe a few of your own." Emma hesitated, unsure if she was ready to step back into the public eye. But something inside her stirred. Maybe this was her chance to reclaim what she had lost. Not her old life, but a version of herself she could be proud of. "Let me think about it," she replied. Liam's life, while outwardly successful, still felt incomplete. The farmhouse renovations were nearly finished, but the place didn't feel like home anymore. Memories of Emma lingered in every corner, from the art supplies she had left behind to the half-finished garden they had planned together. One evening, Liam found an old box of keepsakes in the attic. Inside were mementos from their early years. A scrapbook Emma had made for his birthday, photos from their honeymoon, and a handwritten letter she had given him on their wedding day. As he read the letter, filled with promises of forever and declarations of love, Liam felt a pang of sadness. Her betrayal had broken them, but the love they once shared had been real. For the first time, Liam questioned whether his revenge had gone too far. Weeks later, Liam attended a local charity auction at his sister Charlotte's urging. "It's good for you to get out," she insisted. "You've been holed up in that farmhouse for too long." To his surprise, the event featured a gallery showcasing community art projects. As he wandered through the exhibit, admiring the work, he froze in front of a painting that felt hauntingly familiar. It was one of Emma's pieces, a landscape of their farmhouse, painted with soft, wistful tones. The caption read, "A place I called home." Liam's chest tightened as he read the words. He turned to the gallery owner, who confirmed what he already suspected. The artist's name is Emma Grant. "She's teaching at the community center now. Talented, isn't she?" Liam nodded, unsure how to respond. The next day, Liam drove to the community center, unsure of what he would say. He found Emma in a small classroom, surrounded by children working on colorful canvases. She looked different, more grounded, more serious, but there was a lightness to her that he hadn't seen in years. When she noticed him standing in the doorway, her expression shifted from surprise to apprehension. "Liam," she said softly, "what are you doing here?" "I saw your painting at the gallery," he replied. "It caught me off guard." Emma gestured for one of her assistants to take over the class and stepped into the hallway with Liam. "I wasn't trying to send a message," she began. "The painting just felt honest. I'm sorry if it upset you." "It didn't upset me," Liam said. "It just made me think." There was a long silence between them before Emma finally spoke. "Liam, I know I hurt you in ways I can't undo. And I know you've moved on. But I hope, someday, you can see that I've changed." "I do see it," Liam admitted. "I just don't know what to do with it." Aaron's life, meanwhile, had spiraled further. With his reputation in ruins, he struggled to find work and eventually left the city altogether. He reached out to Emma once, asking if they could reconnect, but she didn't respond. "I've burned enough bridges," she told her sister when asked about it. "I'm not going back to that." For Emma, cutting ties with Aaron was an act of self-respect, a step toward proving to herself that she could choose better. Liam's encounter with Emma left him feeling conflicted. On one hand, he still carried the pain of her betrayal. On the other, he couldn't ignore the changes he saw in her. She was no longer the woman who had lied and cheated. She was someone who had faced her mistakes and rebuilt her life. During a visit with his sister, Liam voiced his dilemma. "Do you think it's possible to forgive someone without letting them back into your life?" he asked. Charlotte thought for a moment. "Forgiveness isn't about them, Liam. It's about freeing yourself. If holding on to the anger is weighing you down, maybe it's time to let it go." Her words stayed with him. That evening, Liam sat down at his desk and began writing. I've spent a long time trying to make sense of what happened between us. For a while, I thought revenge would give me closure, but it didn't. All it did was keep me tied to the past. I see now that you've worked hard to become a better person, and for that, I respect you. I can't forget what happened, but I'm ready to forgive. Not for your sake, but for mine. I hope you find peace. I think I finally have. He didn't send the letter, but writing it felt like lifting a weight off his shoulders. Emma's work at the community center flourished. Her students' art was featured in the gallery's exhibit, and their success became her greatest source of pride. She even began painting again, not for recognition, but for the sheer joy of creation. One afternoon, she received an unexpected visitor, Kate, Aaron's ex-wife. "I wasn't sure if I wanted to meet you," Kate admitted, "but I needed to see the woman who turned her life around after everything." Emma was taken aback. "I'm so sorry for what I did to you," she said earnestly. "You didn't deserve that." Kate nodded. "No, I didn't, but I can see you're not that person anymore. And for what it's worth, I respect what you're doing now." The encounter, though brief, left Emma feeling lighter. Months later, Liam met someone new, a landscape designer named Claire, who had been hired to work on his farmhouse garden. Their connection was immediate, built on shared values and a mutual appreciation for quiet, steady love. Claire wasn't flashy or dramatic. She was thoughtful, patient, and kind. With her, Liam found a sense of peace he hadn't realized he was missing. As they worked together to bring the garden to life, Liam felt something he hadn't felt in years: hope. Liam's relationship with Claire blossomed naturally. She wasn't one for grand gestures or dramatic declarations. Instead, her quiet consistency made Liam feel safe in a way he hadn't realized he craved. One summer evening, Claire found Liam on the porch, staring out at the garden they had created together. She joined him, a glass of iced tea in her hand. "You've been quiet tonight," she said, leaning against the railing. Liam glanced at her, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Just thinking." "About what?" "About how different things are now," he said. "How much lighter I feel." Claire tilted her head, studying him. "Do you ever think about her?" Liam paused, knowing who she meant. "I do," he admitted, "but not the way I used to. It's like she's part of a chapter I've already finished. I've moved on." Claire reached for his hand, her touch grounding him. "That's all anyone can ask for." Emma's painting career began to gain traction again, though it was nothing like the recognition she had craved in her younger years. This time, her work wasn't about fame or approval. It was about telling stories of resilience and growth. One piece, a large canvas titled Reclaimed, depicted a fractured farmhouse slowly being overtaken by vibrant, wild blossoms. When it debuted at the gallery, critics called it hauntingly personal, though they couldn't have known how literal the imagery was for Emma. A few weeks later, the gallery owner handed Emma a letter. "Someone left this for you," he said. Emma unfolded the paper and recognized Liam's handwriting immediately. Emma, I saw your painting at the gallery. It stayed with me not because of the subject, but because of the feeling behind it. I think we both know what it's like to lose something and try to rebuild it. I've forgiven you, and I hope you've forgiven yourself. I can see you've changed, and I'm glad. We both deserve to be free of the past. Take care, Liam. Emma read the letter twice, tears slipping down her cheeks. It wasn't the reconciliation she had once dreamed of, but it was the closure she hadn't realized she needed. Aaron, once the epitome of arrogance, had been forced to confront the emptiness of his choices. Stripped of his career and reputation, he took a job teaching art classes at a small community college. Though he initially saw it as a step down, he soon discovered a sense of purpose in mentoring young artists. One student, a quiet but talented painter named Sophia, reminded him of the raw ambition he had once possessed. "Professor Monroe," she asked one day, "how do you deal with failure?" Aaron thought for a moment before replying. "You stop running from it. You face it head-on and let it teach you what you need to know. Then you build something better." For the first time in years, Aaron felt like he was building something meaningful. A year later, Liam and Claire attended an art fair in the city, drawn by a shared love of local creativity. As they wandered through the stalls, Liam froze in front of a booth featuring bold, vibrant landscapes. It was Emma's work. Claire noticed the shift in his demeanor and followed his gaze. "Is that her?" Liam nodded, his chest tightening. Emma noticed them moments later. She approached cautiously, her expression unreadable. "Liam," she said softly. "Emma," he replied, his tone steady. "It's been a while." Claire stepped forward, extending her hand. "Hi, I'm Claire." Emma smiled faintly as she shook Claire's hand. "It's nice to meet you. Your work is beautiful," Claire added, gesturing to the paintings. "Thank you," Emma replied, her voice sincere. The three exchanged a few polite words before parting ways. As Liam and Claire walked away, he felt an unexpected lightness. "She seems different," Claire remarked. "She is," Liam said. "And so am I." That night, Emma reflected on the encounter. Seeing Liam happy with someone else had stung, but it also reaffirmed her belief that she had made the right choices in letting him go. In her journal, she wrote, "Liam once told me that trust is like a thread. You can fray it, but once it snaps, it's almost impossible to tie it back together. I think I spent years trying to tie those threads again, not realizing they were never meant to hold. Today, I saw Liam with someone who deserves him, and for the first time, I felt at peace with the threads I couldn't fix." Emma closed the journal, her heart heavy but hopeful. In the years that followed, Emma's gallery work flourished. She became a voice for second chances, often speaking at events about resilience and growth. She remained single, not out of fear or regret, but because she had finally learned to love herself. Liam and Claire built a beautiful life together, welcoming a daughter they named Ivy. On the farmhouse's porch, surrounded by wildflowers and the laughter of their child, Liam often thought about the journey that had brought him to this point. Aaron continued teaching, his once chaotic life replaced by the quiet satisfaction of helping others succeed. Though he lived alone, he felt a peace he had never known in his younger years. One bright spring day, Liam received a package in the mail. Inside was a small painting, a vibrant field of wildflowers surrounding a farmhouse, with a note attached. Liam, this place will always mean something to both of us. Thank you for helping me find my way back to who I was meant to be. Wishing you all the happiness in the world. Emma. Liam placed the painting on the mantel, a quiet reminder not of pain, but of the strength it took to heal. Years later, Emma was invited to speak at a prestigious art symposium about resilience and transformation in creative expression. She hesitated at first, knowing the weight of the topic, but eventually agreed. It felt like the culmination of her journey, not as an artist seeking acclaim, but as a person who had rebuilt her life from the ground up. What Emma didn't know was that Liam and Claire had also been invited. Claire, a landscape designer who had gained recognition for blending artistic expression with sustainable architecture, was presenting her own work. The event took place in a sprawling conference hall filled with artists, designers, and dreamers. Emma delivered her speech with a quiet confidence that captivated the audience. She spoke of mistakes, growth, and the way art can mend even the most fractured parts of the soul. Liam, sitting near the back, listened intently. He hadn't seen Emma since their brief encounter at the art fair, and hearing her speak now felt like a mirror reflecting how far they'd both come. As Emma stepped off the stage, the applause thundered around her. She caught Liam's eye briefly, and they exchanged a small, knowing nod. It wasn't a reunion, not in the way movies portray them. There were no grand apologies or rekindled feelings. But it was a moment of understanding, a shared acknowledgement that the threads of their story, while broken, had woven something new for both of them. Meanwhile, Aaron had quietly become a respected figure in his small community. He continued teaching, mentoring students who reminded him of his younger, more reckless self. One day, he received an invitation to showcase his students' work at the very gallery that had once shunned him. Hesitant but encouraged by his students, Aaron agreed. The gallery's director approached him during the opening night, a glass of champagne in hand. "It's good to see you back in the art world, Aaron," she said. Aaron smiled faintly, glancing at the young artist whose work now adorned the walls. "It's not about me anymore," he said. "It's about them." For the first time, Aaron realized he had found the fulfillment he had been chasing all his life, not through ambition, but through building something that outlasted him. On a crisp autumn evening, Liam stood on the porch of his farmhouse, watching ivy chase scout through the yard. Claire stepped outside, handing him a mug of steaming coffee. "You're quiet tonight," she said, leaning against the railing beside him. Liam smiled. "Just thinking." "About her?" Claire asked gently. "Not in the way I used to," he admitted. "She's a part of the story that got me here. But that's all it is now, a story." Claire reached for his hand, her touch warm against the cool air. "I'm glad we found each other," she said softly. "Me too," Liam replied. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Liam felt a deep sense of peace. He had fought through heartbreak, anger, and revenge, only to find that true healing didn't come from tearing others down. It came from building himself back up. Years later, Emma retired from public speaking to focus entirely on her painting. Her final exhibition was a retrospective titled Threads Rewoven, showcasing pieces that chronicled her journey from betrayal to redemption. The centerpiece of the exhibit was a painting of a farmhouse surrounded by wildflowers, its windows glowing with warm light. The plaque beneath it read, "A home once lost, forever cherished." Visitors marveled at the raw emotion in the piece, unaware of the personal history it carried. For Emma, it was the last thread she needed to tie. Years after the symposium, Emma received a letter addressed in familiar handwriting. She opened it with trembling hands, unsure of what to expect. "Emma, I wanted to thank you for your speech. Hearing you talk about resilience reminded me of the strength it took for both of us to move forward. Life here has been good. Claire and I built a family, and this farmhouse has become everything we dreamed it could be. I hope you found the same peace. Take care, Liam." Emma smiled through her tears, clutching the letter to her chest. It wasn't a rekindling of what was lost. It was an acknowledgement of what had been rebuilt. She tucked the letter into her journal, a quiet reminder of how far they had both come. Decades later, Liam sat on a bench overlooking the garden he and Claire had cultivated over the years. Ivy, now an adult, tended to the flowers, her own children laughing as they ran through the rows of blossoms. Claire joined him, slipping her hand into his. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Liam nodded. It is. He thought briefly of Emma, of Aaron, and of the tangled web of betrayal that had once consumed his life. But instead of bitterness, he felt only gratitude for the lessons learned, the strength gained, and the love that had ultimately endured. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the garden, Liam realized that every choice, every heartbreak had led him to this moment. And for that, he was finally at peace. After Liam's letter, Emma began to reflect on her impact. She had spent years rebuilding her life, but the letter sparked an idea she hadn't considered before, sharing her journey more intentionally with others who felt lost after their mistakes. She reached out to a publisher about turning her story into a book. The publisher, intrigued by Emma's concept, asked for a sample chapter. As Emma sat at her desk, she struggled to find the right words. How could she condense years of guilt, heartbreak, and growth into a narrative that would help others? She stared at the blank page until, finally, she wrote. This is a story about threads, some snapped, some frayed, but all tied to a life worth weaving. The process of writing was both cathartic and painful. Emma revisited moments she had tried to forget, digging deep into the choices that had defined her past and the growth that had followed. When the book, titled Reclaimed Threads, was finally published, it resonated with readers far beyond what Emma had anticipated. She received letters from strangers thanking her for her honesty and sharing their own stories of redemption. For the first time, Emma felt like her pain had a purpose. Aaron, too, found a way to re-enter the art world, not as the ambitious, self-absorbed man he had once been, but as a humble mentor and advocate for underrepresented artists. He began hosting workshops at community centers, focusing on providing resources and encouragement to young creatives who lacked access to formal training. One student, a young woman named Tasha, stood out for her raw talent and determination. Aaron saw in her the kind of drive he had once possessed, tempered by a kindness he admired. "You're going to do great things," he told her after one of their sessions. Tasha smiled. "Because you believed in me." Aaron realized then that this was the legacy he wanted to leave, not one built on self-aggrandizement, but on lifting others. One rainy afternoon, as Liam rummaged through an old storage chest in the attic, he came across a box labeled Emma's Things. Inside were forgotten keepsakes, a stack of letters, a small sketchbook, and an old photograph of the two of them standing in front of the farmhouse, their smiles bright and carefree. He hesitated before flipping open the sketchbook. Inside were rough pencil drawings, some unfinished, of moments from their life together. The porch swing they'd restored, the oak tree in the yard, and a tender sketch of Liam working in the garden. The sketches stirred something in him. Not regret, but a bittersweet nostalgia. Despite the pain of their breakup, their time together had been real, and it had mattered. Liam decided to return the sketchbook to Emma, thinking she might want it as a reminder of her artistic growth. When Liam arrived at Emma's small gallery downtown, he felt a wave of nervousness he hadn't expected. The space was intimate and inviting, filled with her latest works. Emma greeted him with a mixture of surprise and warmth. "Liam," she said, smiling faintly. "What brings you here?" He handed her the sketchbook. "I found this while going through some old boxes. Thought you might want it back." Emma took the sketchbook, her fingers brushing over its worn cover. "I haven't seen this in years," she said softly. "Thank you." They talked for a while, their conversation easy and unforced. Liam shared stories about Claire and Ivy, while Emma spoke about her book and her new focus on mentoring young artists. "I'm glad you're happy," Emma said as they parted ways. "I am," Liam replied. "And I'm glad you found your path too." As Liam walked away, he felt a sense of finality. Their chapter had closed, but it had shaped them both in ways they would carry forever. One evening, as Liam and Claire sat on the porch watching Ivy draw in her sketchbook, their daughter turned to them with a question. "Daddy," Ivy asked, "what do you do when you make a big mistake?" Liam exchanged a glance with Claire, both of them caught off guard by the unexpected question. "Well," Liam said, choosing his words carefully, "when you make a mistake, the most important thing is to learn from it. You can't change the past, but you can decide what to do next." Ivy nodded, seemingly satisfied with the answer. After she ran inside to show Claire her drawing, Liam sat alone for a moment, reflecting on the wisdom he had earned through pain and growth. Emma's final gallery exhibit was her most personal yet, featuring a series of works that chronicled her life in vivid, abstract forms. The centerpiece was a large canvas titled "The Thread Between Us." The painting depicted two figures standing at opposite ends of a fractured landscape, a single thread connecting them across the divide. The piece was lauded as a masterpiece of vulnerability and resilience. Liam and Claire attended the exhibit, quietly admiring Emma's work from a distance. Though they didn't speak that evening, Liam left a note in the guest book. "Beautiful work. Wishing you all the best, always." Emma read the note later that night, smiling as she tucked it into her journal. Decades later, Liam sat under the oak tree in his garden, watching Ivy's children play. He and Claire had built a life of quiet joy, surrounded by the love they had cultivated together. Emma's book, Reclaimed Threads, had become a staple in self-help circles, inspiring countless readers to face their mistakes with courage. Her gallery continued to thrive, now managed by one of her former students. Aaron, though living modestly, remained a beloved mentor in the art community. His influence could be seen in the works of dozens of young artists who credited him with their success. Though their lives had diverged, Liam, Emma, and Aaron were forever connected by the threads of their shared story, a testament to the power of resilience, forgiveness, and the possibility of new beginnings. Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss interesting life stories, and write a comment if you like the story. See you.